because I have some questions for everybody. Did anybody take a look at our reading this week? Part 5, Finding a Slave. Guy, I know you were up all night reading it, as you always are. Chatter read it. Crab 20 read it, I know. Guy, why don't you give us a recap of of how to find a slave? Share with us your bountiful knowledge. I was actually a little bit disappointed in this chapter. I feel I was hoping that like by the end of the chapter, I would be able to find a slave, and I feel like I'm still woefully unprepared. First, begin with not following the orders of a slave. Huh. Okay, that might be. Oh, Keith, it's all about the gore novels. That's all gore is how to find a slave. You find one, and then you drag her by the hair, and you lock her up. Do you know you weren't impressed either? Well, yes, I was. It was a little disappointing. He. Let me just start off. I'll read you the final summary of the chapter, so you can kind of get a little bit of an idea of what it is that went on. This chapter focused on finding a slave. I gave you some internet links to help you find local kink clubs and a link to help you locate weekend kink conferences. I suggested you consider making up some non-business kinky calling cards, prepare a master's resume, and consider creating a website to promote your search for a slave. I supplied a series of questions that a master might ask a slave candidate, and offered some suggestions about guarding yourself against a poor quality submissive. I ended with a bullet list of potential red flags about a person you're considering for an intimate slave, which that all sounds great. Extra points for all the screaming. Oh, Dino, but you're not particularly interested in finding a slave. Okay. Well, that doesn't really apply to you. But if you were, slave and submissive are different things. Yes, I agree. They are different things. To me too. But the information I feel like that he actually provided was not as useful as it could have been. The links that he gave in the book, a lot of them were not active anymore. Yeah, they didn't work. He never even mentions FetLife, which I thought was interesting. I know, shocking, right? But he does mention alt.com. Oh, that's because they're on paper. Well, yeah, but still. Slaveformaster.com, which I took a look at that one, and it looks like it's changed to recon.com, and it's basically just for men, for gay men. Alt.com is beyond commercial nowadays. Yeah. I'm actually not even on alt.com. So, but somebody with redback porch is. There's a redback porch on there. Collarme.com, that one doesn't work anymore. Darkheart.com is another one that he said that one doesn't work anymore. So there were a few that were not great. The one that I really loved, and here I'll share my screen so you guys can see it here. He didn't mention Reddit. Nope. And he didn't mention any of the dating apps, which I thought was interesting too. I mean, there were dating apps when this was written. I feel like apps have become a easier way of finding play partners. It's been easier for me, at least, on Tinder than it has been anywhere else. Yeah. For finding play partners, though, like actual, well, that's debatable. I shouldn't say actual play partners. People who are kinky and then people who are into kink. There are big differences there, and you can't really tell the difference a lot of times on an app, but or at least on Tinder. But I have met quite a few. So, can you see my screen here? This is darkdesire.com. This is one of the links that he gave. It's very old. But from what I can tell, looking at Oregon, most of the I know, Web 1.0. Most of these are active groups. So this, at least the Carl's page, darkdesire.com, looks like it's. Oh no, they have Australia right here. Ta-da! Australia, Melbourne. See? Do you recognize any of those? Grants Pass. Did you see Grants Pass on those? I'll go back in just a second, Keith. You don't know any of them? Okay. Let's see. Go back. Grants Pass. Where did you see Grants Pass at? Oh, Wild Rose Munch. Okay. Where is it at? Oh, right there. And it takes us to Yahoo. So it looks like maybe the links are not. Last time it was checked was in 06. Huh. Yeah, people do get tired of doing all the work to keep it all up. I get that. So yeah, not a great resource for finding links. But at least some of these I did recognize as being active links. He also suggested Leather Page. That one was not around anymore. I think the only other one, all the rest of these are dead. So that's the Recon one. So yeah, not great resource for links. He does give some good advice for like keeping track of your submissions, basically, that of the people that you're interviewing to be your slave. And that's great, but I feel like it's you're like missing a huge step between finding the slave and then starting your interview process. So getting to that point is incredibly difficult. I mean, just finding somebody. So I feel like there's a little bit of a disservice here in how to find a slave. Did you ever read stories by Quillis on GeoCities? I didn't. It's like asking what our handle was on Usenet. I have no idea what any of this is. This was like so pre me on the internet. No. Yes, that's exactly what it was, guy. How to draw an owl. Yes. And then just draw the rest of it. Oh my God. That's exactly how I felt with this. There's a huge, there's a huge misstep there that they're not talking about. Yeah. So and even like if you take a look, Um, I mean, this is the beginning of the chapter here, and before the second page, he's already talking about, you know, having somebody. That's why when he said about taking notes too, making notes of what you did or said to the person so you don't get the people confused. I'm a notes person. I find writing things down helpful, but it made it sound like you'll find so many people that you'll get confused who you've talked to. I can't even find one good potential to explore with yet, and I didn't feel like it helped on ways to get to that point and find these people. Yes, exactly. Um, and I feel like that's a huge, I mean, that's kind of a big part of being in a master slave relationship is finding the other person. Huh. She basically tells you not to be stupid. Don't use dumb names. Don't brat people. Well, sometimes it's fun to brat people. A Dick Master 2000. Yeah, that's probably well, it would attract a certain type of person, but maybe not the quality person that you're looking for. Oh, she says to only brat consensually. That's right. You think people get intense at parties? They get carried away in the moment. Interviewing for a slave or even a sub has never worked for you. Oh, that's interesting. What has worked for you, Dino? Keith, there's a rule not to make major life decisions. Yes, I have heard that too. Yeah, you don't make any major life decisions within like a week or two of having a scene because you are in that no wood on Wednesday, but you're in that high that state or in sub drop or top drop. No wood on Wednesday? Uh-uh. Because of the bruising. No wood on Wednesday. Because it needs time to heal. You can do paddles on Sunday. That's cute. Dino, I've always kind of put myself out there, but then the initial counter oh has been the most mundane. The national spanking parties, that's the no wood on Wednesday guy. Is that what you mean? Okay. The person is more important. I agree. Well, I think that is I want to say that is probably true for everyone, but I I hate to speak in absolutes like that. But you do have to get to know the person. I think before you can get to know them as a slave. That's just my opinion, though. I don't think you can make that a blanket statement. Also, I had heard of getting professional cards printed to hand out to parties, etc. To me, that would kind of turn me off if I got one of those. To me, a dominant handing me a business card looking thing that has been made specifically for finding play partners would make me feel like they're either a pro dom and not a lifestyle dom, or that they are used to handing out cards and constantly playing instead of actually looking for a dynamic, etc., which is fine. But in this case, he's talking about looking for a slave, long-term person. It made me feel like I'm not the right person for them to I think. I totally get that. Yeah, he did. He talked about having a resume, having business cards. Well, not business cards, but yeah, basically business cards that were not your normal business cards. Um, that you would hand out to people. That does seem a little cold to me. But then again, I am the person who made a brochure for my play partner. So That was different, though. That wasn't because I was handing out somebody. That was mostly to be an icebreaker and informative. Guy, the phrase is based on this concept. If you start on opening day of the party, Wednesday, usually, the wooden implements you with wooden implements you can bruise quickly, making it harder to play a lot by the end of the weekend. Oh, okay. Huh. That makes sense. Do you know my experience in those situations has been quite different? Oh, when I did parties, there were subs that wanted to play with me. Oh, but weren't attached to you. Well, I think that parties are very different from like an ongoing, you know, master slave relationship. You were friends along with their doms. Yeah, so people are mixing it up a little bit, playing with each other, not necessarily just each couple. I also hear that the good-looking people and the famous people segregate themselves. Hmm. Like only like pretty people only want to play with pretty people. I think that would depend on the group and how inclusive the group is, because I know that here there are some dungeons that are really about inclusivity, and they try hard not to do that type of thing. But I think it depends on the dungeon. Chatter, the resume would be way over the top for you. That's just what I was typing. I much prefer the idea of a submissive user guide because it's a lighthearted, fun thing to give them, not a serious, intimidating type feeling that I feel the card would set. The only way that I could see it being like having a resume or having a card that you give someone would be after you've gotten to know them a little bit and not like just handing it out willy nilly to people, and wanting and making sure that they knew that you were looking for like, you're uh, looking for a long term relationship, that this is something you're taking very seriously. Chatter, stop saying what I'm typing. Is it a resume straight off? I love the idea of having a questionnaire vetting survey after you've met them for a bit. uh, sorry, I'll stop talking. Just chatter. You just type away. Huh. Oh, Dino, the result was that some lovely ladies would approach you based on what they saw. Yes, I have done that myself. Watched someone and then decided that they would be a fun person to play with and approach them. It's very organic that way, and then you don't come across as a creep trying to, you know, chase down people to spank. If they liked what they saw, then we could talk about who they were. Okay, nice, and what they wanted. I like that. Yeah. I think, Master, you've said something similar, that it's easier for a submissive to approach you, right? To make yourself available to them, and instead of trying to chase them down because it doesn't work to do that. I'm totally paraphrasing you, but does that sound familiar? Yeah. It makes the situation feel like that it's less like them being hunted, is what he said. And Dino, in those situations, I don't need a resume. Yeah, that's true. I like the idea of having a website, though. What do you think about uh his suggestion of having a website? Going back and reading here. Oh, Dino, and then we can have a discussion about who we are. That's good. Your actions speak for themselves. But I've heard lots of people that do give out a vetting survey, something for a submissive to fill out to get to know about them, what they're interested in. And I know Master had his document that he gave you too, but I've heard about a bunch of people who have had similar things. And some dominants I know have given a submissive a questionnaire to fill out and have offered to fill one in for themselves to give the sub too. So that when they both get to know each other and what they're looking for, but it's not right off the bat either. It's after at least meeting someone and having intros already. Yeah. I I can that was feels much more appropriate to me. And maybe that's what he's talking about in here, but that's not what he conveys, so um but a resume feels too formal or businesslike. Oh, Keith, you would be worried you'd never live up to the advertising. Interesting. Hmm. If you feel like you'd talk yourself up too much and there'd be a possibility of a letdown. I've had that a few times with dates claiming that they were quite big in certain areas. They were a big deal, and they were not that big of a deal. The master says he's turned me into a size queen. That's not true. No, we don't need to rewind any recordings, master. Is he going to have one or multiple subs? That's a good question too. If you're just looking for one person, you're going through all these resumes and business cards and website and everything to find one person. I think that is very different than somebody who is a submissive collector. I don't want to be part of anybody's collection. Well, yes, I just want to have my special place in it. I'll put it that way. Come be part of the collective. We're not communists. Okay, sorry. Let's see. I'm kind of a big deal. I can imagine a situation where there are multiple subs and everyone needs to have input and be involved. Yes, I can too. Oh, any place you have will be special, Tara. Huh. I don't know about everyone. I can think of a few. We won't go into that though. Dr. Bob, in his case, he is a slave to someone and he also has his own slave. And he used to have his own baby girl, but I think he's only ever had one at a time. Okay, could be wrong though, but he does have his dominant too. Oh, I didn't realize that he was a submissive himself. That he has a dominant. That's interesting. Sister wives, yes, sister wives. I do have a special fantasy about being a sister wife. Mostly because I've never had sisters or wives. It sounds interesting. And I think in a perfect world, I think that it would be fantastic. Which wife would I be? I would be the bottom bitch. I'd be the alpha. Is what I mean. The youngest, the oldest, I would much rather be the oldest. Having been the youngest and currently basically being the oldest in most situations, I really prefer to be the oldest. Yeah, I'd rather be the top. Not in a short bus cut. Thank you, Dina. I appreciate I appreciate that. Oh, the goddess Indigo is his master. Okay, interesting. Huh. Oh, the mommy. The mommy. I don't know if I would be the mommy. I mean, maybe I do have like a maternal thing for younger women and younger men. Period. But um, Okay, yeah, I could totally go with that. Now that you've got me thinking about that scenario, yes, I could make it work. Huh, yes. Huh, so much punishment. The responsible one? Oh, no. Oh, no, 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 no. No. You hear Master? He's laughing, uncontrollably. You used to say that you had fun being in the middle of a dynamic, like following out what Master told you to do to the house slave if you got one when you're looking. Yes, that would be my ideal situation, is to be a major domo. That would be um, ideal. I would love that. I would love to run Master's household. Sorry. I think it's more intense when mommy get it when the mommy gets it. Imagine me and Pre. She's so cute too. I love her. You can totally see that running the household. Well, I mean, I did. I ran a household for. I mean, I was a housewife for 15 years, so I am quite capable of doing it. Um, it would just be a difference between having children to lord over versus having actual slaves to lord over. And did not burn down. Nope, never. Children versus slaves. Um, one CSP gets involved, or CPS. Not if you have enough money. That's not what we're talking about here. How much input would I have? Well, if I was like running Master's household and had other slaves under me, I think that Master would give me. Oh, how much input would I have about the consequences? Probably. I mean, I would want to be the enforcer of said consequences because I do enjoy the beatings. Oh, would I be a rat? No, I wouldn't be a rat. No. Snitches get stitches. No, tattletales get in trouble first. That's what my mom always said. We go by mom rules here. Did you find anything in this chapter worthwhile, Chatter? Did you take anything away from it? Because you said you didn't like the idea of a website either, right? You do have to take into consideration when the book was published. When was it published? When was this? Alt.com is, yes, you're right. It's not what it used to be. And the links here are not great. But there is more information in this chapter. Um, I'm just wondering what Chatter was, what she actually felt was helpful with this. Because I had a bit of a hard time pulling some stuff out that was actually beneficial.
She didn't feel like there was enough Doritos or falling over in people's laps.
Dino agrees.
I'm just saying.
You're kind of glad that you didn't read it. I did like the fact that he mentioned starting with a short contract to begin with, like 3 months, and then re-examine it. I think that's a good point. It's something I already knew would hope would happen for both sides to make sure that they're on the same page for what is happening. But I think it was good that he mentioned that, and I liked him talking about people getting to know each other in a vanilla way too at the start. Make sure that the same kind of people on the same wavelength and compatible as people too. Yeah, I think he kind of talks about that in the last part too, about knowing what your values are. But I think that kind of puts it into play here. You know, knowing what your values are from the last chapter, and then comparing them to the other person's values and seeing if you sync up. Um, I guess that is an important part of finding a slave, is going through the evaluation process and whether or not this person is worthy of you. Oh, and that at the end he said, "When you don't know what to do, do it slowly." I thought that was good advice too. Yeah. Yeah, he said, "Before you begin a relationship, I strongly recommend getting to know the person in a very vanilla way." Yeah, that is good. In the opening stages of your relationship, you, as master, should be sharing equal psychological power and authority with your slave candidate. So take some time with this person in order to figure out how they act and react in unusual situations. Try spending a weekend in a single bed. I thought that was interesting. Make up some reason why it has to be this way and consider the reactions. Kind of testing the waters a little bit. Take your slave candidate out slumming for dinner one night and then have him or her get seriously dressed up another night. See how you guys behave for a weekend at a 4-star hotel and then at a dive. Who's doing the fussing and what are they fussing about? Those are good suggestions. Kind of figure out who a person is and how they react under different stresses. But I feel like what you said, this chapter was meant to be on finding a slave, but this was more about starting the dynamic, not how to find them, or at least I would have liked to hear more about how to actually find a potential person, because that's what I really need, more ideas on how to find the right person. Yes. And also he did talk about, you know, like going out and finding people in person, going to groups and munches and that kind of thing, which is great. But it's still really difficult to be in those situations and still find a partner. So I would have liked some more information about how to do that. I mean, how do you like infiltrate your way into a group of people? It was like Keith was saying that, you know, he's heard that you go to spanking parties and all the good looking people are over here, and then all the not great looking people are over here and are segregated. I feel like maybe not, people aren't segregated by the way they look. I mean, sometimes, but I feel like that a lot at munches and at parties, and also ageism. Yeah, yeah, definitely. Um, you like more mature women, period. Well, what are you doing here? I might be aged mature, but the rest of it, the psychological aspect, I'm only like 12, so
Oh, she's a fucking toddler, all right.
I'm a toddler. Boobs and butts and fart jokes.